Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, this is part 2 of the whiskeys and bourbons to look out for in the month of December. You know the drill, run the video. All right then, folks, thank you for joining us for another new and exciting episode here on the Whiskey Cove, where we are bringing another part 2 your way. We did this for the first time in November. You folks love it. I love to do it. We have so much whiskey to get through. Let's delve straight into things. So we have 6 absolute bangers bringing your way. They go anywhere from like a $30 whiskey up to a $1,500 whiskey. We have quite the spread for you folks here today, and we have some pretty good value for money in there too. The one that's $1,500 is a little bit debatable, but that's last, and let's talk about that later. With that being said, number 1, Pendleton 1910 Bourbon. No, they're not just stealing Old Forester's 1910 name. Pendleton 1910 Bourbon, or known as the inaugural year of the legendary Pendleton Roundup, a century-old rodeo that celebrates the rugged American Western spirit. This premium 90 proof straight American bourbon is crafted to reflect their hard work, character, and tenacity that defines the Western lifestyle. So, Pendleton 1910 is a 45% 90 proof bourbon. It is $49.99, sort of relatively affordable bourbon, pretty decent ABV. Would have been nice to see 100% ABV or 50% ABV or 100 proof. So this is a 10-year bourbon as well. It has a 10-year age statement. So a 45% ABV for 10-year age statement for $50 isn't too bad. Saying something like a Michter's costs like $200. So this is somewhat in the same sort of market as Eagle Rare, if you like, and Russell's 10. It is crafted with a blend of high rye and low rye bourbons and cut to proof with glacial fed spring water from Oregon's Mount Hood. This 10-year-old bourbon is a golden amber liquid with a robust flavor highlighting caramel, vanilla, and rye spices. So I wasn't able to necessarily find where they're sourcing this from, if they're sourcing this from. So what I will say is, when I was reading this press release, there was a kind of a copyright note in the bottom that says copyright 2024 Pendleton Distillers, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. So I think they might be sourcing this from Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Wasn't able to find the mash bill, because if we're able to find out what that mash bill is, we can sometimes make some equations and then based upon that make some assumptions. So I think they're sourcing this from Lawrenceburg, Indiana, which is MGP. But again, we're making a couple of assumptions here, but they had that in the press release. So like I said, $50, a 10-year, 45% ABV bourbon on 90 proof really does mirror something like an Eagle Rare Russell's. So I think that could be good value for money. And a bottle of whiskey that I'm definitely gonna keep my eyes peeled for. Moving on from Oregon, and we're gonna dive on down to Australia, and that is because Pinhook collaboration series are back with a new release. So distilled by Starward, a distillery based in Melbourne, Australia, which produces, among other whiskies, Australian single malt, aged exclusively in red wine barrels. What red wine barrels? Well, I'm sure it's like an Australian red wine, because Australia is known for doing pretty decent red wine. And then 4 to 5 years old, which is what this will be, is considered full maturity in Melbourne's warm climate, a blend of 28 barrels. So Melbourne is quite warm and quite humid as well, so it might not need as long to kind of age down there, but between 4 and 5 years is what it said. And in our collaboration series, Pinhook co-founder and master blender Sean Josephs teams up with experts from other sensory-rich fields to craft an innovative, specially different whiskeys to create a project that epitomizes Pinhook's unique approach to whiskey making. Sourcing great barrels of whiskey meticulously blended to artificially bring out the finest characteristics, this limited release expands the possibilities of what whiskey pays tribute to and the distillery and palates we most admire. So this is going to be made up of 100% malted barley. It's going to be coming in at a 57.4% ABV or 114.8 proof, and then $99.99 is what it's going to set you back. So $100 is what it's going to set you back for a 100% malted barley Australian single malt whiskey finishing with red wine and a decent proof. So if you're looking for something a little different, for example, you know, like the High West Prisoner's Share, is something similar. So if you, or Bardstown's The Prisoner's Share, they also had one as well. So if you like that sort of thing, then I think this Pinhook collaboration series might be up your street. $100, it might be a little rich for my blood in terms of taking a stab. I don't particularly like single malt. Well, that's a lie. I like Scotch single malt, I like Irish single malt and Welsh single malts. I don't like American single malts. I haven't really had much of Australian single malt. I might have even had some Starwood before. So the jury's out for $100 gamble on that one. Moving on and back to the US of A, Templeton Straight Rye. So Templeton Straight Rye whiskey, new flagship rye from the Templeton distillery, features a mash bill of 95% rye and 5% malted barley. So it's a new flagship rye from that distillery, but it's not distilled by Templeton Distillery, it's distilled by MGP. This is going to be aged a minimum of 4 years in new charred American oak barrels. So we're coming in at 45% ABV or 90 proof. Again, the mash bill is the MGP 95.5 rye mash bill. And where do we see that? We see that quite a lot. We see that with High West used to use that quite a lot, might still do in some of their blends. I think that they might even use that in some of the Midwinter Nights blends still. Bullet 12 year, the 95.5 rye, which is actually pretty solid. And I think that's 45% AV and 90 proof. Very, very good. So that's the same mash bill as that. So if you're someone who likes Bullet rye, then you might like this. And for around $30 for a 4 to 5 year old rye whiskey, it might be worth it for you folks at home, but I think for me personally, I probably, if I'm going to reach for this, I probably would get the Bullet because it's twice as much age on that and for around $20 or so more. So that is the Templeton Straight Rye, their new flagship rye. Now going in down to Louisville, Kentucky to Old Forester, and that is because they are bringing back the 117 series. I say they're bringing it back, they do it all the time. It's quite consistently. You go down there to Louisville to the Old Fire tour that they do, and they always have something from the One Run series that you can generally buy after the tours. So they are bringing out Warehouse I. So the 117 series Warehouse I barrels. This is going to be 42.5% ABV or 95 proof with an MSRP of $60. However, it is $60 for a small bottle, so for a pint-sized bottle. This is the 117 series I have here that I was able to get last time I was in Kentucky. This is the bottled in bond one. But this new series is going to be ones released specifically from Warehouse I, and I actually have a bottle from Warehouse I over here, and it is a rye. So this one I got not so long ago. So this is Warehouse I Floor 3. So they also have rye there as well, but this is not going to be a rye. This is going to be a bourbon. So it's going to be a really interesting one. $60 for a pint-sized bottle. The 117 series are always priced that much. They've done a bunch of different things with these 117 bottles, like the Angel Share, the bottled in bond, the Jamaican rum finish was I think the last one that they did. So the mash bill on this is going to be 72% corn, 10% rye, and then 10% malted barley. It's non-age stated, but some of the assumptions that I could make based upon what people were talking about is that usually a lot of stuff that comes from Old Forester, like the blue labels and the black labels, are around 5 years. So that's the assumption that I'm going to have on that, what that will be. It is going to be only sold at Old Forester. I believe that sometimes you might see them prop up in Christmas raffles around the country, but at times I don't know how they get them bottles, but usually it's only at the distillery and only Kentucky exclusive. So that was the Old Forester 117 Warehouse I series. Moving on to bottle number 5, and that is Redwood Empire Haystack Needle. So Redwood Empire Haystack Needle has been around, that name has been around for quite a while. And for a while they were doing the Redwood Empire Haystack 14-year bourbons, and they would finish them through different single barrel finishes. If I remember some lately, there was like, they had a port finish, a Cabernet finish, and like a double cask finish, as well, like a double oaked finish. However, this isn't going to be 14 years, this is going to be 8 years. And how this is different is that it's 100% their own distillate. So those 14-year age-stated ones were of MGP juice that they personally would take back to their warehouse in California and then finish that in those barrel finishes. So the price set on the 14-year ones was $170 to $200, but the 8-year ones are going to be coming in at $130 to $150, so less in price, but you're losing a lot of that age. It goes on to say that the mash bill for this is going to be 72% corn, 18% rye, 5% wheat, and then 5% malted barley, creating a rich and balanced flavor profile. Aged for 8 years in new American oak barrels with a char level of 3, each sip reveals layers of depth and character. The influence of the Russian River aquifer as the water source imparts a unique terroir, enhancing the bourbon's distinctiveness. Bottled at 116.4 proof. So basically, this is going to be a cask strength 8-year whiskey, or I should say 8-year single barrel bourbon. So there's, even though it's going to be coming in at 116.4 proof, it's going to have a variety of different ABVs and proof. It's just kind of where those single barrel sits at. I'm not sure how I feel about the price of $130 to $150. Even at $170 of the 14-year one, that was a lot of money. But for $130 to $150 for an 8-year bourbon, I guess if it's absolutely awesome, then maybe that might be worth it. But I think it's a little pricey for my blood for what that is. I think that might be better value for money. Albeit Redwood Empire do very good stuff, and they are one of my favorite distilleries out there. And then lastly, for the most expensive bottle on this list, that is Michter's 20-year bourbon. Michter's, after a little bit of a hiatus, are bringing back the very special release of their 20-year bourbon. So after holding it back last year, Michter's has announced a new bottling of this for this year. Michter's 20-year is a remarkable drinking experience, Wilson said, who is the master of maturation, Andrea Wilson. It's luxurious and expansive, a broad palette of flavor that accumulates in a viscous, dark, and richly complex finish. It better be for $1,500. Taken over 2 decades in the making, this bourbon doesn't just taste good, it evokes a piece of timeless history, of life's warm and glowing moments. It's truly a once-in-a-lifetime bourbon. So the 2024 release of the 20-year-old bourbon is bottled at 57.1% ABV or 114.2 proof, and excuse me, not priced at $1,500, although it's priced at $1,200. You're probably going to be paying north of $1,500 as it is. That's a lot of money for bourbon, even if it is a 20-year-old bourbon. I think they released the 25-year last year for like the first time in 3 years. I think that was silly money. I think that was like $2,500. Michter's has done a really good job of being able to brand these bottles as something really special and really unique, almost to the line of like a Double Eagle Rare from Buffalo Trace, or like the Millennium bottles. If there is enough fanfare about these bottles, then those prices will be met by a lot of people. People will generally queue up for these a very long time and go to big releases to be able to get some of these awesome bottles. I will never get my hands on those Michter's 20. I have a Michter's 10-year bourbon back there, and even I think that was a little bit overpriced, around $200. Michter's generally makes some pretty good stuff. I have a bunch of their stuff up here. I'm very happy with it. But when it comes to $1,500, that's a lot of money. That's insurance for your car for the year. Heck, that's maybe even buying a second-hand car. You know, it's quite the sizable task. And in today's economy, it's a bottle that I will not be buying. With that being said, have a wonderful Christmas. I know we're not quite there yet, but definitely spend some time with family, drink some good whiskey. I'll be cracking open a new bottle that I was able to get of the High West Midwinter Nights Dram, the Act 12. Yes, I know I said that I wouldn't be getting it, and yes, we did pick it up. So I'll be cracking one of those on Christmas Day, and we'll be spending that time with family and friends. So, as we say on this channel, as we drink through the world's whiskeys one glass at a time, have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.